announcement that the war is over.
Our life.
So it looks like we're not going into World War III. Trump already making an announcement that we're not headed into war. That was just a 12-day war where we took out the nuclear bombs that Iran was trying to build. And where Israel also took some attacks. But we live in like a real life movie. Welcome to Rebel on Life. My name is Noel here at ᖴ데ᗰ끼. Hopefully you like this video. Let's take a look at Jesse Watters Primetime. See what he got to say about the recent announcement that the war is over and we don't have to worry about it anymore. That's crazy. I mean, Trump is just showing that the man is a magician. Unbelievable.
Fox News alert, Trump says Iran and Israel have just agreed to a ceasefire, and he expects it to last forever. But it won't go into effect for 24 hours. He's going to let them each take one last shot at each other. Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions for 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour...
I don't know why. It sounds so unbelievable. Like he wrote a post on his social media network, and it just sounds so unbelievable. Like, can we believe Trump after writing this?
Israel will start the ceasefire, and upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will. I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. J.D. Vance was just on with Brett.
How real can this be? A 12-day war. We all read the history books. Nobody ever heard of anything like this. This is like first time ever. We thought that it was going to be World War III. Let's keep it real. And now this. Crazy.
This is a great thing. For Israel, think about this. They've accomplished an important military objective. They've helped us destroy the Iranian nuclear program. They've also destroyed the conventional missile capability of Iran that threatened the country of Israel. For the Iranians, I think this is a new opportunity to actually pursue the path of peace. As I said yesterday, what the Iranians have showed through their support of terror networks, through their now failed effort to build a nuclear weapon, is that they're just not very good at war. And I think the president really hit the reset button and said, look, let's actually produce long-term peace for the region. That's always been his goal. I actually think when we look back, we will say the 12-day war was an important reset moment for the entire region.
Reuters.
This feels like a well put together movie that Trump set up. They talked about this. We're going to go ahead and blow up your nuclear capabilities, and then you're going to shoot some bombs at an empty facility because we're going to take out all the soldiers so nobody gets killed. And then I'm going to announce that good thing, the war is over. Now let's all get together and cease fire. It just sounds way too clever and way too planned. I mean, come on now.
Is also reporting that Iran has officially agreed to the terms of the ceasefire deal, just hours after they fired missiles at American military bases in Qatar and Iraq. Here's the launch. Watch.
It's like they had to respond to show strength, to show they're not scared, right? But in responding and not hitting anything, that's crazy.
The president confirmed 14 Iranian rockets were fired, saying 13 were knocked down and one was set free because it was headed in a non-threatening direction. 47 also confirming there were no casualties and hardly any damage was done. Trump calls it a very weak response, but most importantly, they've gotten it all out of their system. And there will be, hopefully, no further hate. I want to thank Iran for giving us early notice, which made it possible for no lives to be lost and nobody to be injured. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So Trump got a heads up about the Iranian attack because the Iranians didn't want American casualties. Our response would have been devastating. But the regime also had to do something to save face, especially so they can show the Iranian people that they're still in charge. So far, the mission's been flawless. No American casualties. The bombs hit their targets. No real escalation so far, and no mission creep yet.
This sounds unbelievable. I got a lot of friends from college that just look at this in awe. Like, unbelievable. Something's going to happen. We're going to get scared, and some people are going to get hurt. Look, this is just too good to be true.
Trump gave the Iranians a deadline, and he gave peace a chance. But the president felt like the Ayatollah gave him the middle finger, figuratively, when he refused to meet him in Turkey for face-to-face talks. And that came with a price. When the clock struck midnight Friday, B-2 bombers took off on a 37-hour flight, but they were prepared. These stealth bombers have bathrooms, mini fridges, and microwaves.
These guys flew from Missouri. They didn't land a single time. They dropped 30,000-pound bombs on a target the size of a washing machine, and then got back home safely without ever landing in the Middle East or ever
You know, at least Trump got to show off these B-12 bombers. I mean, they look like a sci-fi, like straight out of a movie. I didn't even know we had those capabilities in those planes. So at least we got to see that much.
stopping other than to briefly refuel. And of course, they did that in the air. So it's really an incredible operation, a testament to the power of American military.
Operation Midnight Hammer has been in the works. Last week, Netanyahu asked the White House, how can we help? Trump said, clear the way for our bombers. The Israeli Air Force had a mission: eliminate as many Iranian air defense systems as possible. The Pentagon handed them a target list, and they went to work. The Iranians had no idea what was coming.
There was nobody speaking about this, any of the preparations. There was a complete lockdown, almost a blackout of information for the last few days. So that is a significant achievement because there were no leaks about the timing. If you looked at the moon schedule, you might have had a clue because it was a waning crescent and almost a new moon on the 25th. So it would have been very, very dark over Iran tonight.
Trump gave the final order on Marine One. Secretary Hegseth called him when he was leaving Bedminster Saturday and said, the B-2s are about to reach the point of no return. Are we a go? And the president said, it's a go. The administration was confident their intelligence was rock solid.
Are you saying there that the United States did not see intelligence that the Supreme Leader had ordered weaponization?
That's irrelevant. I see that question being asked in the media. That's an irrelevant question.
No,
they have
that is
everything
the
they need
key
to build
point
a
in U.S. intelligence assessments. You know
No,
that.
it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
The political decision had not
I know that better than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
But
You don't
I'm
know-
asking
you
you
don't
whether
know
the
what you're
order
talking
was
about.
given.
And the people who say that, it doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons. Why would you bury things in a mountain 300 feet under the ground?
Right.
Why would you bury why do they have 60% enriched uranium? Why do they have a space program? Is Iran going to go to the moon? No.
47 flew back to Washington and oversaw the mission in the Situation Room. The president was joined by his national security team, Hegseth, Rubio, Gabbard, Ratcliffe, and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Originally, a set of B-2s flew west to Guam as a misdirection. The others continued east, each carrying bunker busters. A nuclear submarine in the Arabian Sea fired first, 24 Tomahawks that took out Iranian defense systems. Then the B-2s, flanked by F-22s, dropped 14 bunker busters onto 3 key targets. The main Iranian nuclear sites, which included the famous Fordow facility buried deep underneath a mountain. The U.S. commanders say all 14 bombs hit their targets, leaving nothing but smoking craters. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Raisin Kane, said the targets sustained severe damage and destruction. Trump said they were...
Seriously, Trump is creating a real-life movie. doing all these with the greatest machinery, the greatest planes that the United States got, going across the world and doing all of this. Whoa, I can't wait to see the videos that they're going to put out there of him in the Situation Room taking a look at all of this. It's going to be even a bigger movie.
Were obliterated, and we're awaiting additional damage assessment. As the bombers left Iranian airspace, U.S. Navy assets fired Tomahawks to suppress anti-aircraft fire. All the pilots landed safely back in Missouri on Sunday night. The president came out at 10 o'clock Saturday and called it a success.
Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes.
The ceasefire
Show off. Trump showing off the great strength of the United States. Amazing.
announcement is a strong signal that the short war is winding down. Now, we still have to wait and see what happens next. Iran's nuclear program has been set back years, possibly decades. Their top scientists and generals are all assassinated. Their leaders hiding in a bunker. And they're all alone in the world without proxies or allies. It could be too expensive for the Iranians to reconstitute their nuclear program. We don't know if they have other clandestine sites or whether they snuck enriched uranium out of the mountain before the attack. But there's no doubt the regime's been significantly crippled. The Trump administration appears to have pulled off an incredible operation. And the American military, who lost a little prestige under President Biden.
And that's putting the rest of the world in check. That if Trump says anything, he's going to carry it through. I'm pretty sure nobody's going to try to test Trump now. Because look at the weapons that we got. Come on now.
Is back in a big way. American deterrence is back. This sends a powerful message to China, Russia, and the cartels, and gives Trump even more power over trade negotiations. Other countries see that Trump is willing to go to the extreme for what he believes. The market's up and oil prices are down. We hope any future fallout can be contained and that American armed forces remain safe and the homeland is protected.
He already told the gas companies, don't raise your prices. Keep it down. There's no need for that. It's a ceasefire. We're not going to war. No need to raise prices. Man, this man is a genius. We needed Trump to be the president.
Joining me now, senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracy's Bill Roggio and Medal of Honor recipient David Olivia. All right, David, we'll begin with you. How would you assess the mission?
Flawless.
Well, look, quick admin point. It turns out, evidently, Secretary Hegseth found the leaker at the Pentagon because this thing was clandestine. It was quiet. No one knew a thing about it. We've got cruise missiles coming out of the water, 2.5 hours launched. They hit with precision timing while we crawl into Iranian airspace. And the retaliation, you could track on Uber Eats. They call us ahead of time. They tell us where it's going to be. I mean, at this point, we've got articles of impeachment against President Trump. Maybe it's time to carve Roosevelt off the of Rushmore and make a big granite hat, because this is one of the most oppressive things we've seen in 50 years.
Trump should be getting a Nobel Peace Prize, man. The man is bringing peace around the world. He just brought together Israel and Iran and pulling this mission with no snitches. Amazing. Come on now.
Bill, what do you make of the Iranian retaliation so far? I mean, it was telegraphed, choreographed, whatever you want to call it. What does that indicate?
Yeah, Jesse, I think the Iranian response was meager at best. It was, if they telegraphed this, they clearly didn't want U.S. casualties. I don't want to downplay the threat to the U.S. troops in the region, but we were given all the notice. It was a limited volley. It was destined to fail.
And I don't know why they're doing this, like snitching on Iran, calling them weak, calling them a bad plan that they told us what they were going to do. So like that, we will be careful and nobody gets hurt. It's like, do we really need to snitch on them? Can we just stay quiet and say they tried? Hey, you guys, at least you showed up, did your best. Now let's call it a day. Ceasefire.
I mean, certainly there was a chance it could go through. But if this was the Iranians trying to show their strength, they would have been better off, in my estimation, to not launch at all and to show their weakness for all. I want to make one quick point, Jesse. As far as I do fear that, the battle damage assessment for that strike on Fort Al particularly might be a little premature. We don't actually know if those facilities have been fully destroyed or even how far they've been set back. I would like to have had a little time for that to breathe for the administration if it needed to conduct a follow-on strike, because we do not want, in the end, the goal of this mission was to stop a nuclear-armed Iran, and we needed to take out that program.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have some assets in place on the ground there to give us some better intel soon. David, the ceasefire, he's giving each side 12 hours to kind of take their last shot and then call it a day. Do you think this thing holds?
First of all, how is it a ceasefire when we're asking Israel for permission to fly over Iranian airspace? I mean, it's a little insulting to. I don't even understand what Iran's going to take any deal at this point to save face. They made.
It's going to be great television if we see then Trump and those two presidents, all three of them together, shaking hands and coming to a ceasefire deal. Man, that's going to be amazing television.
The one mistake of, you had the Gulf Arab states that were out loud waving a finger at the Americans, but secretly saying attaboy to the President Trump. And now the Gulf Arab states can tell the truth out loud and say, Iran, you're isolated. Don't piss us off. We're going to come at you ourselves. I mean,
it almost feels like they're doing this to make Trump look good. After this one, you're going to see Putin, Russia, and what's the other one? The other country, call it quits and stop fighting. That's going to be the next one. I don't even know the name of the other country. That's how much I hate that other country.
This is a true coalition. And again, this is a president who, we've heard a lot of comparisons to Reagan, but I'm still upset about Beirut in '83 and the lack of response from President Reagan at a time when we really needed a response. No more Reaganism. This, to me, is a new standard, and I think President Trump deserves a lot of credit for it.
So, Bill, what does the Middle East look like now? I mean, can we get out? Have we created a different balance of power so we can kind of shift our focus to the Pacific or back here at home?
The terms of the ceasefire, what this actually means, this is the real question. Sure, there may be a ceasefire directly between Iran and Israel, but what about the proxies that Iran has sponsored? What about the Houthis? What about Hezbollah? Does that war with Hamas end? These are the real questions. These proxies aren't going to go away overnight. And if this ceasefire does not include stopping these proxies from attacking U.S. forces, from attacking international shipping, from attacking Israel, this war will be back on. So the U.S. needs to be very careful. It's one thing to declare a ceasefire. It's another thing to see it play out and for it to be extended over weeks, months, and years.
But, David, doesn't the regime have control over these proxies? Can't they tell them to knock it off? I mean, if they start with Hezbollah and Hamas all over again, they know what the response would be.
They're going to have to wait for the next president to start any beef or to start any wars. All right? The next Democratic president is not going to be tough on them. That's when they may come back to fight, because weak men just create crazy consequences.
Now, Bill's 100% correct. These proxies are like Shark Tank. They're auditioning for Iranian money. And so you have no control. You don't know who's going to go out there and do something squirrely just to get attention. And listen, don't forget about ISIS. ISIS is out there. These are narcissists. The worst thing in the world is a narcissistic terrorist who's like, what about me? Don't forget about me. ISIS will fill this void while everyone's looking at Iran and the proxies. You can't control the proxies. We're talking about hundreds of militias in Iraq that all want funding from the regime. They're going to do whatever they can to look like they're number one, like they're the next Hezbollah and Hamas now that they're wiped out. And then ISIS is over there in the wings, and they'll jump in at any time just to bring the attention back to them.
Yeah, only thing worse than a narcissistic terrorist, narcissistic cable news host, but we'll leave that there. Bill, do you worry about the Iranians having secret programs, having enriched uranium that they could just spin up in the dark? Because right now, I mean, that was their only leverage, this program, and now essentially it could be gone. How do they react?
I think the Israelis have demonstrated that they have fantastic intelligence inside of Iran. If there were secret programs, I expect we would know about it. What I'm more concerned about, and what we don't know the answer to, is were the Iranians able to smuggle out the enriched uranium that was at the Fort Al facility and elsewhere? Were they able to take centrifuges and be able to set them up elsewhere? And if they're able to do that, is the U.S., is the Israel going to be willing to go back in and strike? This is where Trump's rhetoric about there being peace, peace in our time. Again, I always urge caution in these situations. It may look like peace for the next 12 hours or 24 hours or next week or month, but if Iran is secretly trying to rebuild its nuclear program, what is going to be done, and what face saving, or how bad do we look if we went through all this effort and we declared peace in our time, and yet the Iranians are back to business of restarting its nuclear program?
Let's just pray that that's not the case. So China's looking at this, David. Russia's looking at this. The whole world's watching this. What kind of message did it send?
I'm telling you, this is Trump creating the greatest movie out there. It looks like everything they're doing is just to make Trump look good. Like the man does crazy actions, like blowing all those Iranian bases and suffers no consequences. Insane.
Well, first of all, Russia, obviously, I mean, this was the perfect time if you were going to take a swing at the regime in Iran. Russia's got 99 problems, and, the Middle East is not one of them. You got China today saying, we want our oil. 1/5 of the oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. But the other fact is that's a chunk, almost 50% of what China's bringing in. If you were going to tell me a week ago that this war, quote unquote, would last 12 days, stocks would go up and oil would go down, I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't even know what to say. No one would have saw this.
I mean, it's too good to be true. That's why I don't even want to say anything. I feel like I'm going to jinx it. Gentlemen, thank you so much, Bill Davis.
Everybody thought after what Trump did in the Middle East, every time an American president does something crazy in the Middle East, bad things happen. Like the poll numbers go down and a new war starts, a new forever war starts, but nothing good happens whenever something happens in the Middle East. And went to bed, I was thinking, man, it's over for Trump. And now this, crazy.
David, we really appreciate you guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
So how do people feel about Trump bombing Iran?
People are ruining this country for my generation. My generation is the one that's going to have to deal with it. So go to hell.
Nonsense. Man, again, it feels like Trump is creating a real life movie, making himself look good and using the strongest weapons that America has against anybody or against its allies. Man, we're living in some crazy times right now. It's a great time to be alive. We get to watch all of this on television, and you got some haters, people that want Trump to fail, and you got people who are celebrating. All right, let me skip past the commercials. Check this out.
Holds and Iran doesn't shut down the oil flowing through the strait, although that would be economic suicide. It would crater their own economy and choke out their biggest customer, China. Trump's warning the oil guys not to gouge. Quote, everyone keep oil prices down. I'm watching. You're playing right into the hands of the enemy. Don't do it. The Ayatollah may surrender for now, but he could activate sleeper cells. Biden let over 1,000 Iranians cross the border.
As I said, the last 4 years, my biggest concern was this open border was the biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen. So I pulled numbers this morning just from a CBP under Joe Biden. There was 1,272 nationals of Iran released in the country between OFO and the Border Patrol.
Crazy.
And you compare that to the Trump administration, zero, right? Zero releases.
And after the U.S. airstrikes, does the Iranian regime feel like it needs a nuke more than ever? Some say Iran might have squirreled away enriched uranium in trunks of cars before the bomb hit. But a U.S. senator says, nope, we got it.
They are claiming that they moved some material. Our intelligence report says they didn't. In fact, we actually believe they stored more of it in Fordo because they believed Fordo was impenetrable.
The Ayatollah's lost all his leverage, and Trump warned him he needed to do the right thing or else. It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? Make Iran great again. Former CIA analyst and host of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show. Buck Sexton is here. What does he mean by regime change there, Clay? I mean, Buck. Sorry. You're wearing a normal blazer.
It happens. Jesse, I think that this is very important when everyone's looking at where Trump is on this, because I know even a lot of Trump supporters publicly have been proclaiming their concerns that this is going to be another Iraq, another Afghanistan. And I think those concerns are certainly at this point greatly overblown. President Trump doesn't want that to happen, is not going to let that happen. It's one thing to encourage, and this has really been in different ways the policy of the United States government, the preference of the United States government for a very long time, to encourage the Iranian people to do something about this totalitarian theocracy that has been oppressing them, that has kept them under their boot heel for 50 years now. That's one thing, right? It's a very different thing to say, well, now we're going to go in there, we're going to land the 82nd Airborne, we're going to start, setting up major bases, take the airfields, Iraq, Afghanistan, that playbook all over again. Trump's not doing that. He's made that very clear. He has no interest in that. But it is perhaps an opening here for the Iranian people to take a look at this kleptocracy and theocracy that has been unfortunately oppressing them for as long as they have, and say, this could be an opportunity. Now, we've had those chances in the past for the Iranian people. They have not been able to seize them. It is up to them if they choose to do something about it. And Trump is just encouraging them with a helpful slogan.
MIGA, I guess, is the acronym. The Iranian regime, do you trust them? There's going to be a ceasefire in 24 hours, but they have sleeper cells, they have proxies. There's ways to do damage.
Jesse, in the Middle East, it's all about the strong horse and the weak horse, right? And the tactical success that has been shown by the Trump administration and by the Israelis, of course, with these aerial strikes, the precision, the intelligence networks on the ground, the fact that this was mapped out so thoroughly that most of the Iranian senior military leadership was taken out in the opening hours of the strikes, just goes to show you how much more advanced the U.S. and Israeli capabilities are. So that factors in, I think, to the possibility of reprisal here or the blowback from this, because not only have the Iranians been largely defanged, certainly from a nuclear perspective, but also from a conventional military perspective. A lot of their ballistic missile launchers have been taken out. Again, senior leadership, they're scrambling. But there's a recognition that this administration, under this president, means what he says. And if he says there will be hell to pay for any acts of terrorism, I totally agree. We've had a wide open southern border. The possibility of Iranian agent infiltration, I think the infiltration is almost a certainty, but the question is, will they go operational with a strike on the homeland of some kind? That would bring about, I think, severe consequences for them, and they know that. So really, Jesse, it's a question of, do they see the reality here, the force, the military, the intelligence realities that indicate that it would be self-defeating for them to do anything right now to further upset Trump or the Israelis, for that matter?
Right. So the telegraphed strike, where we got a heads up, I mean, that would indicate that they're rational and they're trying to de-escalate. And if they activate a sleeper cell in the U.S. and something goes haywire, I mean, the regime's over. I mean, then you're looking at a complete obliteration. Do you think they understand that?
Yes, I think that there is. I think there's been a clear marker set down by the president. I mean, he's even put it out there on a truth posting. He says, look, we're not looking to take out the Grand Ayatollah, but, things happen. Like, watch yourself.
We know where you're sleeping. Right.
Yeah, we know where you're sleeping. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. And here's the opportunity here. I mean, first of all, massive tactical success. And, I used to be an analyst for the government, and we'd always look at trends, right? The strategic trends across the Middle East right now favor us, favor Israel, favor our allies, favor the Saudis and other players who are willing to be responsible and want to build for a better future for a region that's seen far too much violence and conflict going forward. And now the Iranians know in any negotiation they go into, they're going to be going in as somebody who just got their butts kicked for all the world to see, and it can get worse for them. And so the options that will be given by Trump or other regional interlocutors, I think are going to be very clear for the Iranians to see as this is the way for us to go. The old stuff using, look, the Israelis have degraded Hezbollah. They've degraded Hamas. This is the best security situation in many ways that we have seen in the Middle East in a really in the post 9/11 era. I think you can argue.
It's just amazing to think about
and it's largely because of what,
as you said, Buck. The trend is our friend. Good to talk to you as always.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I'm so sorry for calling you Clay. What an insult.
Look, man, the trends, everything is working in Trump's favor. And all you hear is the Democrats talking about impeaching him. There is no way that man is getting impeached. And all he's doing is getting more and more points, more and more, celebration of all the great things that he's doing around the world. Now, the peace president just bringing peace, putting fear on all the other countries like, yo, you better not test Trump. He does what he says. All right, last segment. Check it out.
First NATO meeting since being reelected. All eyes will be on him. Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy with more. Peter.
And Jesse, good evening. A lot of the NATO leaders that are already here in the Netherlands for the summit would rather spend most of the time talking about Russian aggression. Of course, Russia is still waging a war on this continent. But if President Trump arrives tomorrow as scheduled, he's not going to have to hear much about that because the NATO organizers have slimmed down the schedule. So the only meeting he's really got to attend with the other leaders is going to be about increasing NATO spending. That is something he's been talking about for years. Right now, 22 of the 32 countries meet the current spending goal, 2% of GDP. President Trump is trying to push them to raise it to 5% of GDP. We expect most of the NATO partners to come here and say they will try to get there by 2035, except for Spain. The Prime Minister of Spain says they do not want to up defense spending to ensure protection for countries that are using harsh rhetoric. It doesn't sound like he appreciates the way that President Trump has been talking to the Iranians. Jesse.
Ooh, the Spanish guy's in big trouble. I can't wait to see how that shakes out. Peter, we kind of know how the Democrats have reacted to this strike, which is all over the place. The Republican Party, there was a pretty hot debate going into this weekend. How's the Republican Party reacted so far?
Jesse, just in the last couple hours since President Trump came forward and announced that there is going to be a ceasefire in a couple of hours, and since White House officials have started briefing us that President Trump and Vice President Vance were key players behind the scenes in that, at least one senator, Jim Banks, is saying that Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Prize if this ceasefire holds. And we would expect to hear a lot more talk like that. I also just saw a statement from Thomas Massie, the Republican who is joining Democrats and pushing for a war powers resolution, basically telling him that he has to go to Congress if he wants to do anything like that again. And Massie is saying tonight that if the ceasefire holds, he will drop that push for a vote. Jesse.
It's very nice of Massie. Peter, thank you very much. I studied abroad in the Netherlands, so I'll text you some recommendations. Just behave yourself.
That would be great, Jesse. Yeah, please do.
I will. Donald Trump announcing Israel and Iran have agreed to a ceasefire, bringing an end to the 12-day war. And while Trump pushes for peace, the left's hitting the streets. They just added a new flag to their arsenal. First, it was Ukrainian flags and Zelensky tributes. Then pro-Palestinians planted their flag, turning Colombia into Gaza U. Next, well, the riots were in Espanol, and LA started looking like Mexico City. But now they have a new flag.
1, 2, 3, 4. We don't want your racist war. 5, 6, 7, 8. Iran is a sovereign state.
And anytime Trump locks horns with bad guys, liberals take the foreigner side, or they just go into hiding. Biden's back on the beach. He's soaking up the sun with Hunter and a double scoop of chocolate chip. The rest of the party, mum and muted. Their top 28 contenders, Gav, Gretch, and Tampon, said they were monitoring the attacks over the weekend, but didn't take a position. The rest of the Democrats are all over the map. Crockett's mad Trump didn't holler at her before the bombing.
You could have hollered at us on Monday. If you truly felt like there was something like...
She talks so good. I really hate it. You could have hollered at us. No domination of the English language. Dumb.
There is nothing that they will say that will make me believe that this action needed to take place, and it needed to take place without the consultation of the Congress.
Bernie bros found out mid-rally about Midnight Hammer and started booing like Trump defunded Ben and Jerry's.
This is a statement from Donald Trump, quote, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran," etc. All of you know that the only entity that can take this country to war is the U.S. Congress. The president does not have the right.
Meanwhile, AOC's ready to draft articles of impeachment, which is odd because when Obama and Biden launched thousands of missiles into Libya, Syria, Iraq, Pakistan, nobody said impeach.
Nope.
But a few Democrats said bombs away.
There's going to be a lot of people in my party that are going to disagree with the strike in Iran. And I actually support that. I've been always calling for that thing. I think it was entirely appropriate. And again, there might be votes on that. So for me, that's not a war. That was a very limited military exercise, and it struck that. And then that's where we're at. So really, it really wasn't about unconstitutional or it's anything like that.
Democrats are all over the map because nobody's telling them what to say, and they can't really think for themselves. So their positions sound ridiculous. Soon, some district judge will rule that Trump doesn't have the power to use the military.
Yeah, look at that. Dem support every flag except for our flag. That is so true.
And where's Kamala? The last thing she said was Happy Juneteenth. Nationally syndicated radio host Dana Lash is here. All right, so how are the Democrats handling these strikes and this quick ceasefire?
Jesse, it's pretty unbelievable because they're all over the map on this. I mean, I remember going all the way back to like the Green Revolution and going back to Egypt and Libya. Democrats loved unilateral action. They loved unilateral action in Libya, going after Gaddafi and trying to reinstitute a bunch of Clinton stooges in order to nation build. They loved getting involved in Egyptian elections and backing the Muslim Brotherhood, as Hillary Clinton did, a banned entity in Egypt before then. They loved getting involved in Honduran elections and trying to back different leaders in Honduras. I mean, we could go on and on. I don't know if there's ever been a moment in my life where Democrats haven't loved unilateral action and nation building. And to just the cherry on top of all of this, everybody remembers the entire reason we are in this position in the first place is because of Jimmy Carter and Democrats back in the 70s when they decided to get rid of the Shah and they installed the Mullah regime. That's exactly why we're in this position. Democrats own it. So you would think that they would be celebrating that their legacy has come full circle, but they haven't yet. And as far as the argument on whether or not the office of the executive has unilateral action, I've made my position very clear on my radio program, Jesse. I think war is a last resort. I'm not an interventionist, but I'm not a neocon. However, I would like to direct people to reread, if they haven't, or read James Madison and the Federalist Papers, because it's all brilliantly lined out. And it's in these things, Jesse, for progressives to read called books.
You can have a noble objection to these strikes. Sure. There was people on the right who had it. There's people on the left that have it. And that's fine. And that's good. I mean, not everyone's going to agree on everything. But to say that, that Trump should have asked your permission if you're Jasmine Crockett, I mean, what? I mean, I thought this was a secret aerial campaign. He's just supposed to announce to the world, Jasmine, can I please have your permission to do this? And that doesn't make any sense.
That's crazy.
I get the objections from some of those
coming on the right, because they're genuine objections that come from a place of genuine concern. Just to remind everybody, we have grown up. I mean, Jesse, you and I have grown up our entire lives with military campaigns that had mission creep. You know, the objectives were changing.
All right.
It turned into these long, protracted conflicts, and then, you know, multiple generations that were involved in it. I have multiple generations in my family that were in Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, that's like wild that would even be considered commonplace in our culture. But we kind of got off base in terms of how we prosecute conflict. So to see a one and done, or to see a politician and elected officials say, we're going to get in, we're going to do this, and we're going to get out, we're not used to that yet. So I give a lot of grace to a lot of my friends on the right who aren't all on the same page with this. That being said, I think you can look back at POTUS's first term and see that everything that he engaged in militarily, we didn't get involved in any kind of long-term committed conflict. It wasn't mission creep. What he said, we went in and we did, and then we came back out with like the most limited loss of resource and even loss of human life. And that's how it should be. So I think we're still on the right kind of acclimating to this. However, I will add, on the left, there has never been any consistency. There has never been any proper follow through. There's never been any clear communication with the American people about any of their.
On the left, they love forever war because that's money. That's how they make money. That's how they put a lot of money into the military. They love forever war.
Objectives, which again is why we're in this position in the first place. So I think it's good to have a healthy dose of caution. And I like what Congressman Thomas Massie, who I know, I think, you know, he's genuinely a kind-hearted person who comes at it from a very strictly constitutionalist angle. And thank God we have people like that holding down that spectrum in Congress. I think that we can all agree that it's better to have some of those folks in Congress than not. But to see where this goes, we have to make sure that, you know, the intelligence is accurate. That's all we've been acting on. I think that the president has demonstrated in previous military conflicts and engagements that he deserves the grace and the benefit of the doubt on this. I haven't always agreed with him on everything, but I'm willing to do that with this.
Yeah, he's earned the trust of the American people, especially what he's gone through during the last term, and especially that last campaign where he almost died. Dana Lash, great to see you. Good to talk to you as always. Thank you so much. Johnny asks people about the Iranian situation.
All right. So it's time to celebrate the end of the 12-day war. That's unheard of, man. We all read history books, and nobody ever heard of a 12-day war. Like, is this really happening? Is really Donald Trump choreographing, or is he putting together a movie for us to enjoy? Like making backroom deals about Iran. Yeah, go ahead and throw some missiles and look tough, but don't kill anybody. Just blow a bunch of missiles, and then that's it. With that, end of 12-day war. We are living in the greatest time. But in any case, my name is ᖃ. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. We are living in the best time on earth, where we get to see Donald Trump create a real-life movie using the best weapon the United States have. I'm going to go and watch some more videos about the B-12 bomber that we got. I didn't even know we had such weapons that could do things like this. Amazing. Let me know what you think. And with that said, somebody turn the lights on in the background. Let me go check it out. I'm surprised that I was able to come down here and create a video. Not easy going through a divorce. Let's see what happens. With that said, see you on the next video. Give this video a thumbs up. Peace.